like many other people at our school, I volunteer at Eagle Ridge Hospital. I'm in the Path Dining Assistance Program, where my job is to mainly listen to the patients and hear what they have to say, and just engage in conversation with them. I'm assigned to E2B, and for those who are the same, you know it's really not sunshine and rainbows in that ward. It usually hosts older patients, some who stay for a couple of days, some who stay for a couple of weeks, and some who stay much longer. However, regardless of the duration of their visit or the severity of their condition, all of them only want to do one thing: leave. But that makes total sense, right? I mean, the hospitals are for the sick, and who wants to feel sick? During my first couple weeks of volunteer, I repeatedly saw this one man. I'd sit down, ask him about his day, and our conversation would always shift to his life outside of the hospital, or before the hospital might be a better word, actually. He'd tell me about his family, his wife, his kids, his time in university, his career as an engineer and as a golfer, as an athlete. And then he'd tell me about how at his old residence, he'd write notes to the chef complaining about the food until it got better. And then after that, the conversation would shift to his life now. How badly he wants a different meal, and how even walking has become strenuous for him, and how badly he misses the life that he's proud to have lived and proud to tell me about. Although with this man, I've heard stories repeat from week to week, I've never heard them repeat on the same day, like some of these other patients I've talked to. Sometimes when I'm listening, I hear small details reappear, and then some characters come back as well. And then eventually, the story's setting also seems to return to where it started. Now, they don't realize they're doing this, they don't realize they're repeating themselves, but as a listener, after some time, I'm listening to the same story for the fourth time in a row. As the storyteller, they don't intentionally do this, at least I hope they're not. To them, each time they tell me anything, it's the first time that I'm hearing it. Now, you may have guessed already, but some of the patients I talk to have Alzheimer's disease or dementia. They don't realize they're repeating themselves because often the memories they lose first are their most recent ones. Next in line is their long-term memory, the memories that form their identity and are essentially the essence of the stories that they tell me. Long-term memories usually stem from those who we surround ourselves with, like friends or family, which is a key component I've noticed in all of the stories I've heard, and I think that's really great. One time, I was talking to this woman who told me all about her family traditions, like movie marathons, dinners, Thanksgiving, and so many more. And in this process, she also told me about each of her family members. However, when she got to her granddaughter, she struggled to remember. She then suddenly shifted the conversation's focus from about her and her family to me, the volunteer who was just listening. She asked me what my name was, and so I reintroduced myself. "Oh, well, my name's Dhaya," I said. And to that, she said, "Well, that's my granddaughter's name too." To this, I was initially surprised because although I have met people with the same name as me, I've never met someone who's pronounced it the same as well. Next, she asked me what school I went to. And when I said that I went to our school, Port Moody Secondary, turns out her granddaughter goes here as well. And then this cycle repeated a couple times. She'd ask me something about myself, I would answer, and somehow her granddaughter did the same thing. Somehow her granddaughter went to our school, played soccer, played on the school soccer team, had the same name as me, and somehow I still didn't know her. Now, I walked out of that conversation and out of that room in a daze because too many details were adding up. I thought to myself, okay, I've got to be her long-lost granddaughter or something because it's just too similar. But then, now, looking back at it, I can realize that she was just forgetting. And she was using what I did to reassociate with the memory of her granddaughter that she couldn't seem to grasp. And once that clicked, what she did felt like an act of desperation to hold on and fill these gaps in her memories so that she could pretend that they didn't exist at all. Now, like I mentioned before, all the patients at the hospital only want to leave. They want to return to the lives that they so proudly tell me about. And so, by remembering her granddaughter, this woman felt more in control of what was in her mind and more able to anchor the memories that she felt were gone. She was able to convince herself, if not anybody else, that she was not ill. So now, when I'm sitting down with a patient and I'm hearing them tell me something and I hear their stories repeating, it feels to me as if they're trying to memorize their memories. They're trying to memorize the person that they are, because essentially, all that we are is all that we have experienced. Let's compare memories and experiences to puzzles. Each experience that we register and each memory that we hold adds to the puzzle of us. Mosaics detailing all that we are based off of all that we've seen and done. Here's an example. When I'm asked the question, tell me about yourself, in a job interview or anywhere, I always curate my answer depending on who's asking and what it's for. If it's something athletics related, I'll tell them about the sports I've played, like martial arts and soccer. If it's something leadership related, I'll talk about my job, the clubs I have, and any other related experiences that I've had. I rely on what I've experienced when asked to define who I am. So who am I if I lose them? When someone loses their memories, they not only lose little glances or little moments in their life, but they lose who they think they are. They lose what they tell people about themselves. So, keeping this in mind, I guess that if memories and experiences are truly all that we are, then all the stories that I have become all that I am in one point in my life. The patients at the hospital are not the people they are, and as a volunteer, I wouldn't know that without the stories that they tell me. And if that's truly the case, then why not build and gain as many story-worthy memories as possible and build a rich tapestry of an identity worth being proud of, like that man I talked to? And if people are truly like puzzles, then we are not the kind my cousin, a 4-year-old, would build with like 9 pieces. We're the kind my grandmother would spend hours on with at least 1,000 or more, because each experience culminates and curates and adds to the puzzle of us, which is our identity. And because of what I've seen at the hospital, my goal is to max out the number of pieces in my puzzle. I want to ensure that I am present and that there's a whole lot of me in each of the memories that I make, because at the end of the day, if all I am depends on all I can say about myself, then I want to be rich in that. Rich in what I can say and know and hold to and as myself. If at the end of the day I do end up forgetting, however, and even if some of the pieces of my puzzle do inevitably end up falling out of place, I want the moment before I do to be where I am the most complete me. Thank you for listening.